You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.CFRN.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.CFRN.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 2nd day of January, 2020. Amen. Hallelujah and Happy New Year. Hope you had a great New Year's Eve. Hope you had a great New Year's Day. Hope you had a chance to spend some quality time with the family, reflect on the year that has passed, and look forward into what the new year holds. Well, whatever you did, whoever you are, wherever you are, we're glad to have you right here, right now. If you cannot see the screen I have up, go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds. That will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. It also gives you access to the chat box. Beginning this new year, we're doing something a little bit different. Now, you know that if you're away from the office, away from the desktop, you can always point your browser during the show to cfrn.net/live, right? And before that, you could point your browser to youtube.com/cfrn/live. Both of those are still true. Now, true story, you can point your browser to facebook.com/Emini Futures live trading. That's all one word. Facebook.com/Emini Futures live trading. And there you'll find, along with all those other places, a live, real-time simulcast of the show as it unfolds, all still brought to you by the good folks at YouTube. Now, tomorrow, if all goes well, today dual streaming to YouTube and Facebook. This is a big beta, really big beta. Tomorrow we roll out Twitter as well. So that'll be just one more location that you can go to when you're away from your desktop. Not today, but tomorrow. Twitter.com/CFRN. That's an awful lot to remember, so best thing to remember, here's the top two. Number one, if you're at your desktop, get hooked up with the go-to software so that you have access to the chat box. I'm not able to monitor all the chats across all the different platforms, but I am able to keep an eye on the one right here in the go-to software. So that's the number one spot. Number two, simple to remember, cfrn.net/live. But if you're a Facebook junkie or Twitter junkie, those options might be appropriate for you as well. Okay, here we are, brand new year. Let's take a look at the charts. We'll go to the S&P and might as well settle in on a daily chart for starters. Now, we put out an idea a couple nights ago. Now, I want to make this point. First day of the new year, first trading day of the new year. It might seem like we only come on here to talk about the things that go well or go exceptionally well, but then that really wouldn't be the truth about trading, is it? Or would it? Would it now? We had an entry, a target, another target, yet another target. So price went from the entry to the target, but then lo and behold, what did it do? Well, it got back above the trigger. Now we know important prices, important areas are almost always tested. In fact, we talked the other night in the discussion channel in Telegram, which, by the way, if you're not a part of the Telegram family, you need to grab Telegram. It's a messaging app. It's fast, it's free, it's secure. It's everything you need in a messaging client. Telegram.org, that gets you your free copy on your desktop, on your cell phone, on your tablet. There's no advertisements, no commercials. And did I mention, it's free. We have a channel for everything. We have a channel for trade alerts. We have a channel for the logic and for the concierge. We have a channel for the weekly trading zones. We have a channel for the daily double. We have a channel to talk about the market with members. We have a channel to talk about the market with folks on a trial. And when we want to talk about something other than the market, we even have a place to do that. When we want to just shoot the breeze, we go to CFRN Breeze in Telegram. So, here's the truth about trading. Went from the entry down to the target. Now we're back above the trigger. What we haven't done is we haven't taken out this all-time historic swing high at 32.54. Swing high today, 32.51.75. If in fact we take out that swing high, then we have to change our narrative, because Why? Because that's what the chart says we have to do. We don't make up the rules. We simply discovered the rules, and we teach the rules, and we, most importantly, have to follow the rules. Now, if I drop this guy onto the screen, still waiting, and it drops. See where on the daily chart the BBC is, midways between these two targets. Now, this is blue and climbing, which is bullish. As long as we're on the south side of blue and climbing, let's just say, for instance, today, maybe we don't trade any higher, perhaps we trade a little lower. It would take only one or two more daily candles of us not getting above blue and climbing, and blue and climbing would become red and falling. And that's what that looks like, which would most assuredly take us back to the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean, and in our case the mean is the BBC. So we're going to be patient here and let the market make up its mind, because only when the market knows its plan can we then follow the market and follow the market's plan. That's our entire plan. It's that simple. We look at the market, we understand how markets work, and so based upon the market's behavior, we have a very good idea what the market is trying to do at any given time. Put one of our traders in front of any chart, any time frame, spin them around 3 times, take the blindfold off, give them a minute for their eyes to adjust to the light, and they can tell you what the market is trying to do. Now, that's not a parlor trick. That's not sleight of hand. That comes from simply understanding how markets work. If you'd like to learn how markets work, well, that journey begins at Emini Trading School.com. Emini Trading School.com. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. I got a little bit of news. I'll hang on to that till I come back. But right now, the cash markets, the Dow is up 195 points. NASDAQ is up 63. S&P 500 is up 11. Russell 2000 down 12. Now, this is interesting because, as I recall, not too many hours ago, we had all of the indices trying to go lower, but the Russell struggled to keep its head above water. And then, lo and behold, the other indices turned around and played follow the leader. Okay. Today we have the polar opposite of that. Dow strong to the upside, NASDAQ strong, S&P strong, Russell showing signs of weakness. So the Russell led us to the upside. Does that mean it's going to lead us to the downside? Well, here's the truth about trading. We don't know. Certain things are unknown. Certain things can't be known. I'll go into that a little bit deeper later in the show. In the commodity basket, crude oil down 28 cents, trading 60.78 last. Gold up $5.10, trading 15.2820 last. The Asian markets at the close, Nikkei down 181, Shanghai up 35, Hang Seng up 353. That's a mover and a shaker to start the new year with. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE posted a gain of 62. The DAX rose 136. The CAC gained 63. That gives us a mixed day in Asia, Green Day in the UK. And so far, because of the Russell, it's a mixed day here in the US of A. Let's go to Michael and get a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning.
Okay.
Then I'll be back. We'll look at that little bit of news. We'll talk with John. Today's Thursday, Dr. Tom Day, so he'll be joining us at the top of the hour.
Did you get the message from Dr. Tom? Val put it in the boardroom.
About what?
Val put it in the boardroom. It's
Oh, okay.
the content of today's.
Oh, yeah, I did get a message from him. Thanks very
Okay.
much, but I'll have a look at that. Thank you, Val. All right, Michael, I've got your chart, so it's all yours.
All right, here we go. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2020. No, Bert's not going to be doing a webinar today, Bart. Not only is he working from home, but the markets are just too slow. But we'll get into that in just a minute here. All right. So if you've not taken a free trial with us, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, the 2nd day of January 2020. Our spreadsheet is now 7 years old. And I'll get into that in a minute too. If you've not taken a free trial with us, okay, I will do it. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage here at CFRN.net. And over here in the right-hand column, it says apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you'll be brought to this page, eminitrainingschool.com. On this page, okay. On this page, all we ask for, sorry, I gotta go back down here. All we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. And you can put in your biggest trading challenge. Really, we got back to that page. Yep. Okay. Well, you can put in your biggest trading challenge, so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you, specifically for you. Okay. Hit the send button. You'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. All right. If you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. Now, the spreadsheet, brand new spreadsheet, 1/2/2020. See, way back here, it's 1/2/2013. So our spreadsheet just had a birthday. Let's see. Today in the live training room, we made 1 tick in the euro, 3 ticks in crude, 7 ticks in gold. That put us at plus 106.25. Today it took 116 minutes and 7 trades to get to the goal for the day. And at that point, we're up 106.25. Now, at the end of the day, I was up 96.25. I thought I was up over 100. I thought it was exactly at 100, but I forgot the euro is only 6.25 a tick. So I was at 96.25. So I went and I just went and grabbed another tick out of gold to get me to the goal for the day. Now, there was good movement today in the gold. Not during the market hours, really. But, you know, I missed a short right here that would have been a break even for me had I gotten it. I missed a long right here that would have been profitable. Then I grabbed I grabbed 5 ticks. Yeah, 5 ticks there and 1 tick over here to get us to plus 6 on the gold. I don't know why my notes don't reflect that properly. But during the break, there was a nice shorting opportunity right here. And now you have nothing. Okay, in the euro, we picked up just 1 tick right in here on the euro. We missed this long right here, which would have been profitable, and this other long right here, which would have been profitable. And then during the break, let's see. During the break, there was a shorting opportunity right here, but I don't know if it was going into the low of the day or not. No, there was a shorting opportunity right there. You could have taken to grab that. And that little piece right there too. That was the euro. We're up 1 tick on the euro. Now crude oil. Let's scroll back here and see. our first trading opportunity wasn't until way over here on the crude. We had a break even there. We picked up 3 ticks here. We had a break even there. There was a shorting opportunity here that would have been a break even. And then we get into the break, and during the break there was nothing. You could have gone long right here, but it would have been a break even. Okay, and that was crude today. Now on the ES this morning, I didn't have my weekly trading zones highlighted, so I didn't see that we were inside a weekly trading zone when I took this one trade here on the ES this morning. But it was a break even, and that was all I had on the ES this morning. There was one over here that would have worked out pretty well had we taken it, but we didn't. And then it got really choppy. Then it moved up into the weekly trading zone, got really choppy again, moved out of the zone. This is during the break now. Moved out of the zone, then went right back up to the zone. There was no trading that should have been done there. Okay. So go back to the spreadsheet. Today, as I said, is the 2nd day of January 2020. We made 1 tick in the euro, 3 ticks in crude, 7 ticks in gold. Yeah, that's why. I put that 1 tick on right at the end, just to make sure we got to the goal for the day. Today it took 116 minutes and 7 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 106.25. So obviously, it's the first day of the year, first day of the month. 106.25 and 106.25. Now we ended last year plus $35,398.75, averaging $149.99 per day. That's over 236 days. Okay. Yeah, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page here. It's CFRN.net. In the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you will be brought to this page. Hold on. This page, EminiTradingSchool.com. You can go directly to this page if you want to. On this page, all we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number, and you can tell us your biggest trading challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training specifically for you. Okay, hit the send button. You'll be sent a confirmation link. Once you hit the confirmation link, then we know you took the free trial. Bart, you have to go in the spreadsheet and figure it out. You know, you have to just add up all the months, the nets in the months. Okay. I did not do that. All right. Yeah, and with that, we can pass it back out. Fabulous. Phoenix, Arizona, Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready. Okay, Dwayne is not ready. Let me go back here. Nope, not that page. Not that page either. Yeah, so all you'd have to do, Bart, is go and add up these columns from month to month. Okay, the net profit with an $8 commission, net profit with a $5 commission. So you just add them up from month to month. And that is one contract, 2 hours per day. And $8 is pretty high commission, so you should be in there somewhere. Okay. All right. All right, so we're getting a move up here on gold, but the cycle's going up too steep to go short. We're getting a move up here on the euro, coming off the low of the day, but the cycle again is going up too steep to go short. We're just going sideways here on crude and on the ES. Okay. Okay. Okay, Dwayne says he's going to be right here. So it'll be another couple of minutes. Right now, we really don't have anything that we can trade. Okay, not in these markets anyway. Note the red on the YBR right there. So if you get a down close after a red on the YBR, that's usually a pretty good shorting opportunity. Over here, we had blue, and we got the up close. It's usually a pretty good long opportunity. Okay. This solid red line right here is the low of the day, and this is the low of the day. So I had said 61.70 was the spot for this week. And API numbers come out today, I think, this afternoon. So we're going to change that tomorrow morning. We have crude inventories and natural gas coming out tomorrow. And just a reminder, we have a partners meeting tonight at 9 p.m. If you have any questions, you want to email them in ahead of time. We'll get to them first. Oh, it's still holiday around here with me. So Jada said we're not taking down the Christmas decorations until the middle of the month. So, and it's cold out today. It was freezing this morning. How do you set up the spreadsheet? I'll give you a link to it. Okay, I'll just share this with you, William. Now, when you open it up, do File, make a copy. Okay. And then you can just use all the formulas that I have in there already. All right, because now it's a new year. So we had to, I copied last month's stuff and then the annual stuff right here. I copied all that and put it all down here. Okay. So if you make a copy, your copy should be editable. Whereas this one right here that you're going to get, that you got that link to, is read only. Okay. But if you want to set up your own, that's how you would go about it. Okay. Yeah.
Did you?
Okay. And yeah, I did. I did.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. And that's for all you guys that are out there right now. If you want to copy the spreadsheet, you can just go do that and then do make a copy, and your copy should be editable. Whereas my copy is read only to you. Okay. All right. So that's good. You can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, Studio A, Wilkins, South Mountain, America's largest city park. And it is a large park.
It is. Indeed it is. Recap of the recap.
Today it took, what did I have written down? 61 minutes. No, it actually took longer than that because I had my math wrong. Let me look at my spreadsheet. Hang on. I got it right in the spreadsheet. Oops. It took, today, it took 116 minutes and 7 trades to get to 106.25. 106.25. Yeah, I thought I had gotten it after 61 minutes, but I totally forgot that the euro was only 6.25. And so I was at 96.25. I thought I was square at 100. But so I took one tick out of gold right at the end. Just to make sure we got it.
That's a good bingo.
It is.
Okie doke. Did we have any economic reports today?
We did have some low impact stuff. We have high impact stuff tomorrow. But today we had challenger job cuts. Came in at minus 25.2%. Now, that's a good thing. They were expecting, well, the previous was minus 16%. And now it's minus 25.2. That means that there's fewer job cuts. And that's a good thing. Unemployment claims came in exactly as expected at 222,000. Final manufacturing PMI came in just about as expected at 52.4. And that was a Japanese bank holiday. And yeah, that was it for today. Now tomorrow we have ISM manufacturing PMI, that's high impact construction spending, ISM manufacturing prices, awards total vehicles, natural gas, and crude. And in the afternoon tomorrow we have FOMC meeting minutes. That's another high impact.
A big news day tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's a big day. So hopefully we get some good volatility tomorrow.
Okay, let me share this little bit of news. A trio of analysts have predicted big gains for the number 2 cryptocurrency by market cap, Ethereum, in the next few months. One even suggested a replay of his 100% surge prediction from earlier last year in a tweet yesterday. Last week, analyst Manu Naik pointed out that the Ethereum USD one-day chart was in a falling wedge. These break upside 68% of the time, he said, and $128 is at the lower limit. The falling wedge is still in play, and we are still at the lower limit, which means that Naik's prediction of a potential upwards breakout to $240 by mid-January could still be in the cards. And the wolf of all streets, as he calls himself, Scott Melker, tweeted on New Year's Eve that he believes Ether looks better than Bitcoin at the moment. He then followed that up with a post yesterday with an Ethereum BTC chart highlighting the range that ETH has traded in against BTC since July. The current situation sees ETH rebounding upwards off significant support, putting it in a great position to continue the move higher. And finally, popular analyst Don Alt posted on December 31st that he was, now these are technical terms, so listen closely, pretty sure we're going to bounce big time in the next 3 to 6 months. You might want to jot that down. Pretty sure we're going to bounce big time in the next 3 to 6 months. He followed this up referring to a post last February when he had bought in at just over $100 with a target of $200. How about we do it again, he suggested. As Cointelegraph reported December 31st, if Ether does start to move upwards, could finally kick off the expected alt season that never really materialized in 2019. Ethereum at its all-time high traded around $800, I believe. We all know that Bitcoin at one time traded just shy of 20,000. All right, so that's it for the little bit of news. Now let me bring you up to speed. Logic 247 for this year. As of noon today, courtesy of Valerie, we have 12 total alerts issued. Nothing has stopped out. So we got a 0% week going so far with Logic 247. And if we take a close look, as soon as I find it, there it is. We are in week 74, week 73. We finished up week 73 with a total of 14 alerts. One was stopped out, so 10%. Actually, we had 10 actionable alerts, 4 never triggered. So 1 out of 10, 10% stopped out. Last week, nothing so far this week, and we average, although the last quarter came in, I think at about 14%. On the year, the number we like to hang our hat on, our benchmark, what we're always shooting for, is 20%. And so the light week so far, S&P, NQ, Crude, Gold, S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the S&P, the Dow, Crude, and Gold. And that covers Logic. Now, Logic 247, that is our around-the-clock 24/7 service. We start Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. We keep the pedal to the metal till Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. You could get an alert at 2 a.m. You could get an alert at 2 p.m. Has nothing to do with the clock on the wall, but it has everything to do with opportunity in the market. As opportunity presents itself, that's when you'll see an alert. Not before, not after. As the opportunity begins to develop, this gives you plenty of time to get to your computer, get to your workstation, your trading platform, look at the chart, understand what the alert's all about, why it's an alert, why it's a high probability opportunity. Then and only then should you place a trade. And if you're new with us, you should be placing that trade in your demo account, in the simulator. No matter what methodology or strategy you're attempting to use or learn, there's never a reason to put real money to work in the market until you first establish consistent profitability. That's any method, any strategy, any shiny new indicator or oscillator. First you establish consistent profitability, then you go live. And per the 2420 blueprint, which is our set of instructions, you go live with 1, increase your account balance by $2,000. Only then do you add your second contract. Going forward, you always add additional contracts with profit you earned in the market. That's really important. If you do it any other way, you're still on that path that leads to blowing up your account, which of course, at the end of that path, there's a sign that says, wire more money to Chicago. And unfortunately, everybody's all too familiar with how to do that. So we want to stay off that path, and we want to go down a different path in 2020. So if you follow the blueprint, I can't guarantee you'll never blow up your account. But if you're following the blueprint, you'll have to work extra hard and break an awful lot of rules to blow up your account. Because the blueprint, if you have 2 days back to back where you do not reach your goal in 10 trades or less, that's 2 days back to back, the blueprint's going to walk you right back into the demo account, into the sim account, so that Michael and I can do some troubleshooting with you, help you understand what happened, what went awry. Then you're going to spend another day getting your confidence back, and then you pick up right where you left off. Is that John I hear?
That is John.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year to
Happy
you
New
and
Year.
everybody, and Mike and Val. So, remember what I said on Friday about the market rallying into the new year?
It certainly did.
It sure did. Yeah, it really picked up a lot of tempo going into the close. And actually, if you want to put up Boeing BA,
Sure.
it's kind of interesting because it didn't. A lot of the stocks didn't move until the last hour or two, so there was a very good opportunity to kind of buy the dips in a lot of these momentum stocks, and Boeing was probably one of the last to reverse because it was down, and it turned up quite not super sharp, but it went. I think it went positive. No, it didn't go positive. I don't think. Or maybe it did. I think we did.
All right, let me get it on a daily chart.
Yeah, see that pickup. Yeah, look, see the doji there. It was actually it's a positive doji, but it was a negative close, right? And
Well, we closed green on the session.
right, but it was actually still down. Do you see that?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a pretty rare turnaround, but this is actually when I saw that doji, I thought to myself, this is a pretty, this is as good as it gets. I mean, look at the doji you had at the top right before the downturn, and
this guy up here.
that one, no, the next one, that one, yeah. And so these dojis, when you see them, especially one as good as what we had on, and look, it became apparent. There were two sort of scenarios. There was the fact that maybe the market might do a 2016 and sell off in the first day of the year. It obviously hasn't done that. And we can thank the Chinese that we've got a really strong opening today because they did some very major stimulus. All the Chinese stocks are up pretty sharply. By the way, I had a look at the year of the rat. The rat is the new Chinese year. And it's kind of good news, bad news.
When does the Chinese New Year start, John?
It's about a month from now, going into February. But the rat was the last time was 2008. So in 2008, the Chinese market made an all-time high, dramatically higher, but it reversed. And so I would say that the rat, maybe will be up for the first half of the year because of all the stimulus, and maybe down in the second half or on the Chinese, possibly. The fact that 2008 was such a dramatic year, you have to kind of take that into account. And I haven't really gone back to the previous years. There was really no data on the Chinese markets as to how well things went. So, but I think actually it was 1994, and that was really the beginning of the big run up in China. So, the rat certainly looks bullish on the face of it, but how bullish remains to be seen. But that Boeing, actually, it's quite a dynamic setup here on the Boeing. Given the way Boeing has been hit, you can't rule out, especially if we have some kind of a weakness tomorrow or in the next 2 or 3 or 4 days, where we could see Boeing go down one more time, possibly test 330. Maybe even go a little bit lower, but given the way we turned up, I'd be very inclined to sort of buy the dips on Boeing from this point forward. When I say buy the dips, I'm not talking about buying down days. I'm talking about buying dojis or days where the odds are more in your favor that we're going to go higher. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, when we fell off a cliff here back in October. That was a really, really bad down day. And then we had this doji open and the market went all the way back up. So, it's got a lot of intrinsic strength, if you like, because, I describe Boeing as a temporarily undervalued situation that's hampered by the problems with the 737 MAX. But those problems could be over in a nanosecond. And if they came out tomorrow and said the FAA has given the all clear, I mean, the stock's going to absolutely skyrocket. I mean, you're going to see a move right up to the 370, 383, maybe right up to 400. So that's what's on my mind right now. I don't want to miss a move like that, and there's a chance it could be on its way already. So that you sort of got to play it ear by ear. The stocks are acting really well today. Apple is very strong. You might want to put up Maxim, MXIM. We haven't looked at that in a while.
There we go. There's Maxim on the daily.
What's interesting about Maxim is it's kind of back at that 62 area, and anything above that is pretty clear air. It's had a lot of problems getting through 62. If you can squeeze it up a bit, you'll see that there was a takeover. Oh yeah, it got up. I guess it got up earlier last year and tanked for some reason. But the fact that it's gone up again really sort of suggests that this thing's going to go higher. It's gonna probably either get taken over or it's heading up towards 100, possibly to a previous high. If you squeeze it up a bit more, you'll see there was a spike to about 80, I think. There, that one, 70 or so. So I mean, look at that base.
75.
Right. So I mean, look at the potential for that thing to break out to the upside and to run. And it's not unlike what the market looked like, a few, back in the summer, before it took off in the fall, when we said, remember, we said the economy would get stronger in spite of everybody starting to talk about recession. I mean, the recession is like so far away from people today. I mean, these people who come out, these Dems who come out and say, "Oh, the economy's not, not really good, and people aren't benefiting." I mean, there's a lot of claptrap. This economy is so much better than anything ever seen before. I mean, you have to listen to Kevin O'Leary. I mean, he's got 50 companies, and they're all on fire because of the economy. And there's some charts come out in the last few days, some maps with including Trump possibly winning California and winning something like 462 states, points. So it could really be an incredible landslide. I mean, if this year is another year as good as 19, and it probably could be with the Mexican NAFTA, with the new U.S.-Mexico agreement. Remember, that's the biggest trade relationship in the world. Mexico and Canada combined are way larger than China or anywhere else in the world, and they're becoming more integrated every day. And it's interesting that the Mexican peso, has actually been making new highs recently. So it's obviously, I mean, they have been cutting rates as well. So, but generally speaking, if it creates all the jobs and all the extra trade and everything that it's set up to do, it could be, yeah, there you go. Look, it's the highest the peso has been in a while. And, this new president's probably got something to do with it too. But they've cut rates 4 times right now. And by the way, there's 19 central banks around the world all easing at the same time. So, that alone is bullish for the world. It's bullish. And you're seeing, the market, a few months ago, China was really looking grim. Remember when we looked at the bottom?
Right.
And it's kind of like exploded into an uptrend, where it's only had a few pullbacks since, and today it's really, it's gapped up. It's gapped up into the new year. It's not gapping up to new highs, but it's a significant gap nonetheless. And in fact, we're basically gapping up across the board effectively gapping up to new highs in the market. So I wouldn't
Here's the
underestimate
yuan right here.
Right. Yeah, not so much the yuan. If you take the yin, the YINN, look at that gap. I mean, that's a pretty big, yeah. So, you know, this could be, and then look, the market's starting to anticipate the year of the rat, and you got an island bottom down at the bottom there, which we remarked about when it happened. So this is pretty good. And UK with the Brexit probably is going to hit new all-time highs if it hasn't already pretty soon. Ireland, you know, I haven't looked at the Irish market recently, but if they really are the second richest country in the world per capita today, hats off to them. And it's just an unbelievable, you know, the government has had a lot to do with it. They've made the company very attractive for foreign investment. They've become, you know, a major, you know, Dublin is a competitive financial hub now with Frankfurt and London and Paris. Ireland itself is the headquarters of many. It's the choice of many U.S. corporations to have their headquarters there and manufacturing plants in Ireland because of the language and the skills and the education. It's really a combination of a lot of things that have been put together.
And the low corporate taxes.
Right,
Don't forget that.
Hey, Dr. Tom, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Hey, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year to you, Tom. So, you know, they've got, well, you know, they did something else pretty smart. They've invited, if you're an artist or a writer, you know, you can go and live there tax-free as well.
Really?
So, yeah. So
Those guys don't typically make a lot of money.
Yeah, the low
anyway,
corporate
until
taxes
after
and
they're dead.
their corporate tax in general is, I believe, is 10%. So, and there is probably some grants and things that you can get an even better deal. So it's a super attractive place. And remember what I said a long time ago? I mean, look at the top 10 richest countries in the world per capita. You know, half of them are tax havens, right? Or quasi-tax havens. I mean, Luxembourg is like leaps and bounds above everybody else. It's 150,000 per person per capita. And Ireland's like 103 or something. I mean, they look a bit inflated, these numbers, but you never know. This is coming from a couple of good sources, like some Swiss bank. So it's really remarkable.
Well, John, I want you to stick around. Dr. Tom has, Dr. Tom, tell us the idea you shared with me earlier this morning.
Well, today we're going to talk about the history of 2020. Mm-hmm. And my wife said to me, what do you mean history? It hasn't happened yet. I said, well, we have some smart guys that are going to be on the call today, and we know what's going to happen, or we think we know. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what's going to happen, and then we're going to seal it up in a time capsule, and a year from now open it up and find out what kind of prognosticators we are.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
We said, okay, came out with a pretty, I went out on a limb on the day before the new year and called for 2100 to 2400 gold with the possibility that we could get to 33,000 to 3,400. I think we actually could go all the way this year.
Wow.
Well, that's music to Tom's
and we
ears.
started, and we're up, you know, we're up about $5 already today, and the silver's up 15 cents. So we're certainly going the right direction. Platinum is pushing up towards 1,000, like we said, and palladium's also has regained a tremendous amount. And copper is at a new high today. Maybe we should look at the copper, Dwayne. I mean, at the end of the day, copper is a really sensitive economic indicator, and it's certainly starting to take out all that resistance we mentioned a while back.
So do you have a forecast for the year for copper?
Yeah, Yeah. By the way, look at Tesla. With Tesla, an all-time high, TSLA. You know, they're a big component. They use a lot of copper in their cars. Look at that.
Well, Elon hit his mark.
Tesla is about the most valuable auto company in the world right now. Just about, I think, which is amazing, considering they never made a profit yet.
I know. Yeah.
They've been losing. They lose about $3 or $4 billion over the last 5 years.
Imagine a world where you become the most valuable company in any industry without ever turning a profit.
Yeah.
Most mathematicians and economists would tell you there's something wrong with that picture.
Well, it's kind of like Uber. When Uber got overvalued before it went public, and when it went public, it kind of got taken down the side. Might take a look at it. UBER.
But it's not without precedent in history. Look at the 90s. The companies that were up the most had not only no profits, but no revenues.
Yeah.
They had no way to measure these internet companies, so they started a new metric called eyeballs. So they were counting how many people would look at the site and determine how much a company was worth. It was insane, but people made a lot of money on it.
And a few companies survived. The ones that are today household words. Google and Amazon.
I mean, like Amazon took a long time before it was profitable, but it's incredible what Amazon's been able to do, and also Apple. Especially today. Actually, you might want to put Apple up as well, just to see how strong. It's just been incredibly strong recently.
Yeah,
Google has become a nation.
Google has become its own nation? Is that what you said?
Basically, I mean, it's larger, more powerful than a lot of nations on Earth.
That's true.
So is Apple. I mean, 1.3 trillion roughly market cap today, something like that.
There's Google. Very strong.
And Microsoft too. Microsoft has gone up. I think it's gone up 300% since Satya took over, which is amazing. Bill Gates, I mean, he must be thanking his lucky stars every day.
I'm sure he is.
Got such an incredible new team running the company where he doesn't have to do anything. It's amazing.
Well, Dr. Tom, what are some of your forecasts for this coming year that you want to seal up in the time capsule?
Okay, the first one is the big one, and that is Donald J. Trump is going to be reelected in a landslide. Not just an electoral landslide like last time. He's going to get the majority of the popular vote.
Yeah.
That's my biggest prediction.
The way it's looking, I agree with you. And a guy called Rubini on Twitter has come out with a chart that looks very like Reagan, almost identical state for state. And I think Reagan won about 480 seats, 480 state, electoral votes. And he's putting Trump at about 462. And when you take the look, probably in a year from now, it'll be close to 10 million jobs. That's not, we don't know if it's going to be 10 million votes, but a large proportion of those are going to be votes for Trump. If you got a job thanks to Trump's policies, you're more than likely going to vote for him. Then you got the military, the police, and all the rescue services. You got all that sector, the vets, all he's done for the vets. They're all in his camp. You got his base, and then you've got the blacks, the Hispanics and the black are going up 30-40% now, are going towards the Republicans, towards Trump. I mean, it's really some kind of story, and especially the Indians. I mean, he's got the Indians big time, Chinese, the Asian Americans, African Americans, and even the Hispanics. It's really incredible. And it's kind of like the momentum is building. There's more Democrats on Twitter now who've gone Republican. It's quite noticeable, actually.
They should
the
probably go ahead, Dr. John.
I would just say the people that really decide the elections are not Republicans and Democrats, but they're the independents. And every time you see the dials when Republicans and Democrats are talking, you see the red and blue and yellow lines. The independents are almost always with the Republicans.
Yep.
One thing I'd like to say about the Hispanics is, well, number one, there is no such thing. The census invented the word Hispanics. You know, the government loves to put people in boxes so that it can play identity politics. But basically, what we think of as the Hispanic vote, there is no such thing. Most Cubans, my wife was born in Cuba, most Cubans vote Republican reliably. A lot of Mexicans do vote Democrat because they're waiting at the border with pamphlets saying, here's how you get the free stuff, go here, get a free telephone and all that. But even a lot of the Mexican descent people, people expect that they're going to be all for the Democrats because they believe in illegal immigration. But I've seen so many interviews, you have too, of people of Mexican descent that say, you know, I came here the right way. I want everybody else here to come the right way, and I am not for illegal immigration. So the Democrats make a big mistake when they think that they can lock up the so-called Hispanic vote.
Yeah, I mean, look, probably 60, 70% of the Border Patrol and the Customs are all Hispanics. And they're all diehard, you know, Republicans, these guys, and there is this mindset, this mentality that if you get, you know, once they get over, they don't like the others coming behind them. You know what I mean? It's kind of incredible.
Well, there's another prediction for you. You know, for 8 years, Obama trashed the military, he trashed the police, he trashed the Border Patrol. He just hated anybody with a badge. And so the attitude started changing. You know, people can talk all they want to about presidents can't change culture, but with their bully pulpit, they can to some extent. And he turned a lot of people against law enforcement. And Trump has been exactly the opposite. He's done more to support law enforcement in 3 years than all the damage that Obama did in 8 years. So I will predict that we're going to see more. We're seeing a change in the perception of the American people towards law enforcement, toward our military, and so on. But you know, we've had presidents before that supported the military, but Trump says, "I love the military," and he means it. So he is actually restored in a lot of people's minds respect for our first responders, military, and so on. So I'm going to say that this year we're going to see a sea change. I mean, a major shift to where the majority of Americans are supportive of the people they should support.
I agree with that.
I think this Pete Buttigieg, he's the one to watch in the Democratic field. I got a list of the top ones in the polls here. Biden's still at the top somehow. Bernie raising supposedly more money at this point than any candidate ever has before. And then there's Elizabeth Warren. This Pete Buttigieg, he's not going away, and I don't agree with mostly anything he says, but apparently a lot of people do. And
well,
it's
the thing
that interesting to see how this field narrows out. Go ahead.
The thing that Republicans have a hard time understanding is that, you know, when we go to the polls, we nominate our candidate. The Democrats, they go to their little coffee clutches and conclaves and whatever they call them. But at the end of the day, the super delegates can overrule the rest of the Democrat electorate. And the super delegates want somebody they think is electable. So as long as they think that crazy Uncle Joe is electable, nobody else can get that nomination because at the end of the day, they decide.
That's right. That's true. John, your thoughts?
I agree. I totally agree. And the other thing about Bernie is because he got cheated the last time with Hillary. You know, he's definitely a front runner and may get the nomination. At the end of the day.
Well, he's got the energy that Joe doesn't.
Well, you know, in spite of his heart attack too. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, he bounced back from that quite strongly.
Yeah.
And if he can get Elizabeth Warren to come alongside him as his running mate, you know, to throw her support behind him, they might get the nomination. I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd like to make a comment about Pete Buttigieg. I'm working on an article right now, and it's called "Is America Ready for a Homosexual President?" And what's that? Castro, okay, Julian. Newsflash.
He's out.
Came through. Julian Castro has suspended his campaign.
Yes, he has.
But anyway, back to Buttigieg. My answer is no. America's not ready for a homosexual president, and it never will be. And I'll stay away from the moral and religious part of this and just talk about international relations. There are so many countries in this world that don't like the idea of a prime minister or president being a woman, but that battle has been fought, and you know, from Indira Gandhi on.
Right.
You know, but the Muslim countries, if they have to deal with a homosexual president, they won't. And for that reason alone, I think Americans are too smart to elect this guy.
I think you make a valid point there without going into the moral or religious implications, just not our own moral and religious implications, but how other nations think about this topic. You know, in America, it's kind of live and let live, what people do, you know, behind closed doors, in their own home, in their own bedroom. It really isn't any of my business. I don't like to see it on public display. But again, we're a tolerant nation, but other nations, not so much. So I think you make a good point there.
Yeah. So what's your prediction for 2020, Dwayne?
Well, I agree that Trump's going to win the election. What I don't know is who is going to run against him. I think we're going to have an incredible trading year. I think there's going to be lots of ups and downs, which as a futures trader, that's all we need. We need the market to move. Move up, move down, doesn't matter. As long as there's some nice trading ranges, it'll be a great year for traders. Once Trump wins the re-election, I think the market goes to, well, we're already at all-time historic highs, but I think we're going to see some of the highs that have been talked about for many years that seem unreachable, unfathomable. I think they're going to become reality. Who do you think is going to run against him when it comes down to the wire? Who will go toe-to-toe with Trump for the presidency?
Well, it could be Biden. You know, it could still be him.
Is it too late for Hillary to step in?
I don't know if she does. She's a contender, and I think Bloomberg, you know, is starting to get a bit of traction as well. He's up around 10% right now.
Yeah, we just had a vote cast for Michelle Obama to run against Trump. You think that's
She's
possible?
Supposedly the most respected woman in the United States. I don't know why, but that's what a lot of polls say.
Well, that's kind of interesting, Dr. Tom. You know, they've been saying for a long time that Trump was way below Obama's kind of admiration levels, and now they're neck and neck. They're the two most admired men in the U.S. So
I saw that yesterday.
That's a huge deal for Trump. The fact that he's up there with him, because he's probably going to pull ahead of Obama this year and become the #1 guy. I think Melania will go up as well and eventually become the most admired woman. So
Donald Trump and Barack
She's pretty
Obama
cool.
tied
I like
the
her a
most
lot.
admired men in America poll.
Yeah, I think people are warming to her more and more because she's just the way she is. She's she certainly doesn't get in. She doesn't kind of get in the way. She plays the role very well, and she's doing a lot of good things. And people, and she's. I mean, they're a power couple and they present very well, and that's really. And Trump's image as the commander-in-chief, you see these pictures of him with the battle, the aircraft carriers and stuff. I mean, this guy fits the picture like nobody else has ever has, and that's a big deal.
He's learned how to be a president.
Yeah.
Let me ask both of you guys your opinion on this. I feel that the one big mistake that Trump has made is taking credit for the stock market going up. Because we know historically there have been many times when the stock market was strong and the economy was down, and vice versa. So often they move in lockstep, but sometimes they don't. And so every time he talks about his accomplishments, he talks about things that he did do himself. He lowered taxes, he cut regulations, made it easier for businesses to operate. He's done a lot of great things. He has helped. I mean, basically, we're sitting at full employment in this country right now. And when's the last time that happened? 3.5% basically is full employment, because those 3.5% are people that could get a job but don't. So I think we should take credit for all of them.
Yeah, Tom. In actual fact, today, when you take the numbers, this is probably the best measure is the unemployment claims, the weekly claims. There's 200,000 roughly, right? But the economy is more than twice as big as it was when that number hit all-time record lows of about 150,000. So that's actually been making new lows for about a year, maybe 2 years now. And it's kind of like the UK. The lowest number of people without a job in the UK today is about the same as 1974 or 3, but the population has doubled. So the number is much lower, as is the unemployment. The number of people working there, the maximum number of people ever working in the US, upwards of 160 million. The manufacturing jobs coming back. It's not the biggest thing that still needs to be done, and it's certainly going to take an awful lot of work to get there, is we were at 19 million manufacturing jobs in 2000, and we got down to sort of 12-ish with Obama. I think we're back in 13 now, 13 or so, maybe 13 and a half, something like that. So we're going back up, but it's a painfully slow process, and it's arguable when we will ever get to 19 million again. There might be 19 million robots before we know it. So that's a big factor, and the things that we've talked about, I think, with you before is what's worrying me is that right now there's the debt is at 21.5. Sorry, the GDP is at 21.5 trillion, or maybe 21.75, and the debt's at 23. So there's a gap between those two of about a trillion, maybe $1.25 trillion, $1.5 trillion, right? But in the next just in the next 4 years, according to the projections, the debt goes to 30 trillion. And the economy only goes to 24, so there's going to be a 6 trillion gap, and I think that could be a big problem down the road. maybe not necessarily right away, but I think it's certainly going to be very bullish for gold, because if we're 30 trillion debt, I think gold has to be at least 3,000, if not more. And
and that is, to me, that is a danger for Trump, because even though he never campaigned on being a fiscal conservative, he never campaigned. He never talked about the debt during the
it's not going to kick in. It's not going to kick in until the next term. So it's really not going. I don't think it's going to. It doesn't start blowing out until the next term. So it's really the way everything's shaping up right now for the next year. It's a shoe-in for Trump, because, and you were talking about the stock market. I mean, Trump has been the biggest influence on the stock market in a lot of ways. He's been a big cheerleader for it, and he's done maybe a little bit too much, mentioning of the market. However, and one day he'll pay a price for that. But to be peaking, or to be in the sort of peaking in the first months of a new election year, it just doesn't get any better, because the economy should follow the market no matter what. So 9 months to a year from now, the market should be in a sweet spot. And based on the fact that we're at all-time record highs today, it probably means we're going to be growing at about 3 or even 4% by the election. And that would be fantastic if that happens. That's really the genesis of a landslide for Trump. If we're growing at 4%, I mean, people are going to be pretty happy going into the voting booth.
Yes, but that's where I was going with what I was talking about earlier. Is I think the one way Trump could lose is if we had a major, horrendous stock market crash, because the Democrats will say, "Oh, look, he drove the stock market down." Most people have no clue. Most people that are going to vote, they don't really understand the issues, but they do want to have money in their pocket.
Yeah.
And so if there was a big crash, the Democrats could say, and in his own words, he took credit for the stock market. So if you own it going up, then you got to own it going down. So that's my only fear.
You can't get away from that. Look, there's always a chance something really terrible could happen this year. But as we've said on this show before, if you go back in history, when the advanced decline line is still making new highs, especially as relentlessly as we have been during the last few years, it takes about 1.5 to 2 years for a recession to kick in. And the economy isn't going to stop in its tracks. If there was some sort of a war that broke out or something like that, that actually could boost. There might be a temporary setback, but it would keep the economy humming. So it's very, the economy is almost baked in the cake. In terms, maybe possibly by the end, by November, we might be down to 100,000 new jobs, or maybe 0. You can't tell. Nobody can tell. But on the other hand, we could be creating 300,000 jobs. It's hard to say. But the odds of the economy continuing at this sort of pace for the next 10 months is pretty good. 10 or 11 months is it's virtually a shoe-in. Something really incredible would have to happen. And when you've got 19 countries, 19 major economies around the world all stimulating, and you've got the Chinese and the British central bank and the Fed. I mean, look, when the Fed starts lowering rates, it just gets the economy going. And that helps. The real estate market is picking up again. So it really, it's going to take something absolutely out of, something totally unprecedented to upset the current status quo of things, in my view.
We haven't talked about this attack on the embassy. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts there?
Well, it could. I think Trump responded very swiftly to the situation. However, the Iranians could be baiting him, and they're, this Ayatollah sounding off the way he did doesn't help. But they could get themselves into a lot of trouble too, and I think they may get hit pretty hard.
But, I mean, the guy said to our president, "There's nothing you can do about it."
Oh, he's not getting the memo.
How foolish is that? I mean, I understand his ideology is completely, something that we don't understand. That borders on just stone cold ignorance.
Yeah. So,
what are your thoughts, Tom?
Well, I think he's handling it great. I mean, obviously, as soon as this happened, everybody was talking about Benghazi. That was to be expected. And he was determined that there was going to be no Benghazi on his watch. So, he immediately sent in the troops. I don't know if y'all remember, I'm sure you do, but there were military people, including generals, that were begging Obama to go in and save those people in Benghazi. Whether they could have or not, we'll never know, but they probably could have. But at the very least, we could have gone in there and just blown everybody away and murdered our people, and it would have been, we would have made a major statement. Instead, we just hid, So I think he did exactly the right thing. And although Iran has nuclear ambitions, they're not there yet. This would be the ideal time, frankly, for us, in conjunction with Israel, because Israel would get involved, to go in there and just totally destroy their nuclear infrastructure, and then they would cease to be the kind of threat that they have been. So
that may be coming, because sooner or later it's probably going to come, and I think it would be kill two birds with one stone, because it would be a big warning to North Korea to step in line as well. So that's I think that it could come to that. You never know.
That's my prediction for 2020, that Donald Trump is going to strike Iran. He's going to put them in their place once and for all.
Okay, I'm writing this down. You're on record now.
All right, fair enough.
Donald Trump is, I'm sending a copy to Trump.
Okay, do that. Copy him on the memo.
Hey guys, I wrote an article back in, I think it was 1991 or 1992, and it was Dow 30,000. Does anybody remember what the Dow was back in the early 90s?
Well,
yeah, it was.
What the level was?
I can pull it up on the.
It was between 2,400. 2020 it was on its way up to 3,000 by July 1990.
So I was predicting the Dow going up 10 times what it was at the time, and I was the branch manager.
What year did you ask about?
It was either 91 or 92. I got to find the actual article.
Okay.
In addition to being the national vice president of the brokerage firm, I edited the firm's newsletter. So pretty much the president let me write whatever I wanted to write. Mm-hmm. But when I sent that up to New York for approval, he said, "No way, you can't publish this. You make us look like idiots." And I said, "Well, read it. It's just mathematics. It is going to get to 30,000 at some point. I'm not saying when. Right. I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow, but it will hit 30,000.
Sure." And
he said, "Well, my name's not going on that." I said, "Well, can I publish it if I say this is not the firm's opinion, it's the editor's opinion?" And he says, "Okay, go ahead." So I published it, and I've been watching and really hadn't thought too much about it until lately, 25, 26, 27, 28, pushing 29. It's going to hit 30,000. My question is...
It's at 28,713 right now.
Yes. So my question is this. I was listening to Stuart Varney today, and he's predicting that we're going to see soon either a correction or a crash. And he quite accurately said, you know, the market doesn't go up like this 11 years up. At some point, it's got to either correct or crash. And he's leaning more towards a correction. But what do y'all think about the possibility of either a correction or a crash this year, which would go along with John's prediction of $3,000 gold?
Well, I think it's coming, but not necessarily this year. I think 21. And look, guys, I found something pretty interesting over the weekend that you just jogged my mind. There's a guy out there who's pretty good. He's saying that we're not actually in the longest bull market yet. He's measuring the previous bull market record from 1987 through 2000. And I wouldn't kind of disagree with him. You know, we got up from 87 to the 3000 in July the 20th, 1990. And the reason I remember that is because the Dow closed at the same price 2 days in a row. And the odds of that happening are almost infinitesimal. But things like that often make a top. And right after that, that was 10 days later, Saddam Hussein went into Kuwait. And the other thing was a fellow from Houston came in my office. He was an oil guy in probably May of that year. And the oil price had gone from I think it was $9 earlier that year to, it was on the way up. It was like going 30 or 40. And you know, I just sort of said something bad's going to go down this year because the oil price was going up on no news. And of course, as soon as they went into Kuwait, you know, it spiked to $60 or $70. That was the first big spike. The market corrected about 24%, but it was a very fast correction. Literally from about August through, it bottomed in November, it rallied in December, and then this famous day about January the 8th, you know, James Baker came out and said regrettably, and in spite, so the S&P actually had its, I think, biggest drop ever in one day on that news, one of its biggest drops anyway. And then a few days later, you know, January 16th of 1991 was a very, very big day in history, because that was the day the jets flew in, the stealth bombers went in and started bombing Iraq and Baghdad, and they came back safely. And the market had the biggest opening gap in history the next day. And that basically kicked off the 90s bull market. That was the beginning of a super third wave that took us all the way up to 2000. And so what happened, you know, the 1980 bottom, 1982 bottom, 777 roughly, 775 or so, was a series of 1-2s all the way up to 1984. There was a pullback. It was a 1-2, then we went up to 87 with the tax cut of Reagan, and then the 87 was a big 1-2. It was an ABC, but it was a big 1-2, and that was the last 1-2. And then there was 1990, which was the third 1-2, and then we had the third. That started the third wave all the way up. And I've actually analyzed every single tick on the S&P for the entire 80s and 90s, so I know the thing back to front. He believes that we've got another like 300 to 500 days left in this bull market, which is about kind of right for a potential top sometime in 21. You know, and I think, look, normally in a second term, it's the last 2 years. You know, the first 2 years are a bit of a honeymoon. Right. The second 2 years can be bad, and that's what happened with Clinton, what happened with Bush, what happened with Reagan. So but it might happen sooner with Trump for various reasons. Just the fact that we're coming in the same way. It's sort of like Bush coming in 2000. I think we're more in for like an early sell-off. either in 2020 or 2021, and possibly, and I think I've run this through you before, but I think right now I call what the Fed just did kicking the can up the road. In other words, it's not a full-blown QE4, even though it might be. They're just kind of pausing and giving the market a bit of a boost and the economy a boost for overshooting and for effectively making interest rates go up tenfold, which they probably didn't realize at the time was going to have such an effect on the economy. But if there is, the risk of this 21 curse is what happened in 1921, when the market went from about 50 or 49 at the lows of 1907 crash, and went up to about 121 or so in 1921, and then it got cut down to 65 in a half a year. It really had a tremendous crash. And if you go back and compare the centuries, there's a lot of similarities in how we've performed.
Yeah, we're back in the roaring 20s again.
Right. Well, exactly. And my theory is this: in 1921, the Fed was only 10 years old, and this was their first crisis, and they basically got the Dow back up, and basically probably did so much stimulus that it kicked off the roaring 20s. And I think this time around, remember we bottomed around 6,666 or so in 2009. I think just like in the 20th century, we could come back maybe down to about 8,750, which is my target for gold. Crossover with gold, maybe briefly for a day or two, just like we did when gold spiked at 875 in 1980, and then they could come in and just unleash tremendous QE, get the market back up to 20 and then 30,000, and create the roaring 20s of the 20th century, of the 21st century. With the kind of buying power that Yellen said, we're not going to allow any more depressions. So that could be what may happen. And obviously, if it does happen, if you know about it ahead of time, and it's going to be an opportunity to make some tremendous money, both on the up and down, and also in the metals. So and we're getting so stressed out. You got a lot of, this thing with China sort of boosting. Why are they doing it? Because there's all kinds of Chinese banks in trouble. They're having to bail out banks. The German banks are in trouble, Deutsche Bank. So there's a lot of risk of some kind of a contagion going on in the banking world. And what happened in 2007? It just rippled across the world very quickly and caught all these banks at the highs. And remember, it's all a matter of, they're basically living today on the promise of repayments of all the money they've loaned to people. And if that suddenly kind of clams up, the banks are going to flounder really, really badly. And we're probably going to have another kind of a banking crisis of some sort. So the things could change super rapidly if there is a contraction. And remember what happened in 2000, the topped out in the first quarter, March the 10th, March 24th, and April the 5th or 6th, we had a 1,000-point down day, which would be like having a 2,500, maybe even a 3,000-point down day today. That would really wake people up. So this 2021 curse is really, you really can't rule anything out in the next 3 or 4 years. The dollar closed at a new low, a new monthly low, a half-year low on Tuesday, and it's vulnerable to a breakdown now that could really be quite. Look, the odds are very high that the dollar will get cut in half between now and 2023 or 2024. Very high indeed. And that actually in many ways will be bullish for America,
it's bouncing back today.
Yeah, a little bit, but if it starts slipping away again to the lows, I'd probably go back short. So and the market's actually, this it's going to be interesting to see what happens, whether we can maintain this upward momentum today. We're already negative, by the way, on the mid cap and the Russell,
which led to the upside 2 days ago, and leading to the downside today, it appears.
This is a very dangerous development now, because if we were to go negative off an opening like this, it's probably portending some real trouble, at some point this year. So, or if it, look, if we go up for a couple of days and then pull back maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week, probably not so bad, especially if we finish the 5th day of the year on an up note. I would think that would be a real positive. It's certainly a pretty good start to the year so far, except for these mid cap and Russell, and they're down a lot today, actually, already.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got the Russell up on the screen. Take a look at it.
Yeah. Hang on a sec. So, when you get these, look, they're effectively, in spite of the brilliant performance going on, we're suffering from a non-confirmation new record highs without being confirmed by the transports or the mid caps right now, and that's something to be very careful of. And I would tell you this as well: if the day we take out the lows of last week, effectively, especially in the semiconductors, in Apple or any other stocks like that, we're probably going to go down further. So, and we're already turning on Apple. We just got repelled a little bit, not much, just a small sell-off so far, but I think the pharmaceutical stocks are getting hit today too, and they've been leading this rally higher.
Comment from the audience: what if interest rates rise and the Fed loses control of the repo markets?
If interest rates rise, the gold is probably going to go substantially higher, and that's a considerable risk of that happening. And look, if interest rate if interest rates rise, probably going to put Deutsche Bank out of business, and Commerzbank, because they got a $40 billion exposure, or at least Deutsche Bank has about a $40 billion exposure to rising interest rates. By the way, there's a guy who's worth checking out on Twitter. His name is Greg Rubini. If you Google him, he's sort of a secret agent type guy, and a lot of very, very good information. I thought it was him. I was just checking him a minute ago, but somebody out there said something pretty outlandish, which is that the Benghazi thing, they were basically sacrificed because that was some kind of an arms running. That embassy was being used for gun running or arms shipments to ISIS. I mean, it's pretty bizarre, but I didn't really want to say that, but I read it somewhere. I'm not endorsing it, but that's what came out. Out there, and there's the maps that he's got a better one than that. And then there's another guy. There's a video. I'll try and get a hold of it tomorrow. Eric Prince did an interview. Probably Google it. Eric Prince did an interview on November the 4th of 2016. And remember when, and then we were right in the middle of this, Dwayne, when it happened, a few days before the election, when that bombshell, when they reopened the investigation on Hillary, that was a kind of a head scratcher, given the way they were trying to get her off the hook and everything. If you listen to Eric Prince, it explains the whole thing. When Wiener's laptop got seized, there was so much stuff in it that was just off, like it was just going to blow up the world, that somebody forced them to reopen the investigation, or they were going to go public with the whole thing right before the election. So that's sounds pretty credible.
I'm looking here at your Greg Rubini's map, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, basically, California, Oregon, Illinois, the most corrupt state in the country, New York, Delaware, and D.C. That's what the Democrats get. 117 electoral votes. Trump gets the whole rest of the country, 421 electoral votes. I would not be surprised to see this become part of 2020.
I agree. Yeah. He's a lot of good sources, guy. A lot of stuff in there. A lot of good stuff.
All right.
So, any more predictions for 2020 before we go? We've talked about the economy. We've talked about the election. We've talked about stocks. What about anything in the social arena?
Well, if I keep gaining followers like I did last week, first week I got almost 1,500 followers, and more than 200 a day. Should hit 100,000 a year from now. So
there's a prediction.
Thanks.
There you go. Is that on your Twitter or Facebook page or what?
Twitter.
All right. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
I hate to say this, but I do believe this year we're going to see continued violence against churches. There are examples of what we recently saw. Although, the way things turned out in this last attack on this church, maybe that's sufficient to send a message, but I fear it isn't. So we'll see. I was quite taken aback by Biden's response.
By the way, this Twitter doesn't give you a break. They can't make this stuff up. It's New Year's Eve, right? And I just got a few minutes before we went out to this function, and I'm trying to get my quota in before the end of the day to see as many followers I can get in before the end of the year. So I didn't even go to the limit, and next thing you know, this wake up New Year's morning, and they suspended me again. And it took about all the 150 followers just gone, that vaporized. It's just really nauseating. And honestly, counting everything up, I'd probably be at 75,000. No, I'd be about 80,000 right now, because I think they've taken about 35,000 off me. So in the last year and a half, which is just crazy.
Well, there's a prediction for you. I'm going to predict it sometime this year that a conservative social media contender is going to emerge. There's been a lot of people who've tried to do that, but someone is going to emerge and is going to start taking business away from Facebook and Twitter because they don't care about truth. They just care about bucks. And
yeah, I think you're dead right. But it's a very hard thing to go up against because of just because of the makeup of the way it is right now. Maybe after the next election, it'll be less. But the more likely something like that will happen. But I think there could be a class action lawsuit against Twitter. Come together at some point this year, and that could really, force their hand big time, because they are absolutely every single day up to no good. I mean, I'm just shocked. You know, I have all kinds of people that I just sometimes save to because they're interesting. I want to have a look at them, see what they're saying. As I found Greg Rubini, and you know, I might have like 200 or 300 Twitter sites open, and I just happened to go through. You know, I'm kind of weaning them out before the new year, and like I probably came across 10 or 20 accounts that are suspended, and I have a monitor that does a statistical analysis every week, and if I get into the nitty gritty, and you know, I probably lose, if I gain like 2,000 followers, I might lose 500, so I net out about 1,500. You know, most of those 500 are people who get suspended. It's just unreal. It's crazy.
So why are they suspending? Are you talking politics? Or
you don't know what they say. I mean, I told you what happened with Seth Rich. You know, one day I retweeted a tweet with his name, you know, hyperlinked on it, and or his handle, and you know, I was just shut down in a nanosecond, and told if I didn't delete that tweet that they wouldn't let me back on. So just crazy, and that's why I'm so sure that this Seth Rich is the key to the whole thing, and this video that came out with Lou Dobbs a few days ago, absolutely. You know, it's. I mean, I don't think he would have. You know, there was a lot of blowback about this a couple of years ago, where Fox were basically told to pipe down. But there's no way Lou Dobbs would have come out with that a few days ago unless it checked out. And basically, it blows the Russian hoax sky high. The whole thing. They were not the source.
One other thing I think is going to happen, it's happening, but this year we're going to see a whole lot of brick and mortar stores just disappear.
They're already disappearing. They're disappearing at a phenomenal rate already.
Yeah. It's a terrible rate, but I think we're going to see a lot of stores end up with one anchor store. You know, one physical location, and everything else be on the internet. So people that are investing in shopping centers and malls and so on, they're going to have problems, because as retail stores go down, what's going to be left? Service things and restaurants, you know, optometrists and whatever. But, you know, basically, Amazon owns the U.S. Postal Service now. The U.S. Postal Service was going down. It was going to stop doing any deliveries on Saturday. And it kept raising rates. And all of a sudden, Amazon comes in and starts subcontracting the U.S. Postal Service, and they're delivering 7 days a week. And, I mean, I watch them. You know, they have more and more trucks going out. So retail is going to be almost all online, and I think this is going to be a big year for that. So if people are investing in retail stores and brick and mortar stores, they should be looking for other places.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And Amazon is, I mean, it's starting to compete seriously with FedEx and UPS and the Postal Service, effectively, with their own delivery service.
Yeah, I've been seeing. They're driving nice Mercedes vans. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And as we close out, I want to make just one statement on a spiritual plane. Every year, the Lord gives me a word for the year. And usually when a preacher says the Lord gave him a word, he means like a whole hour-long sermon. No, I mean, every year I ask the Lord, what's the word for this year? And the word he gave me for 2020 is success. I believe that if people have a dream, a vision, an assignment from the Lord, and they've been struggling to see it happen, that this is going to be the year of success, and that people's assignments are going to be accomplished. People's dreams are going to be fulfilled. And so 2020, the year of success.
Amen.
I like that.
That's
I
a
like
good
that.
word. I like that too.
Okie doke.
All right, John.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year to everybody.
Dr. Tom,
And,
Happy New Year to you both of you guys. Appreciate you being a part of the show, and look forward to a new year with you both.
Likewise. Thanks very much.
Okay.
All the best.
All right, guys.
Happy New Year to everyone. God bless.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
All right, guys, the hour's grown late, so we are going to jump right into our good word for the day. We'll do a complete recap of the 2 days tomorrow. This year, though, I want you to do what God says. Isaiah 1:19 says, "If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land." In the 11th century, King Henry III of Bavaria became tired of his responsibilities as king, the pressures of international politics, and the mundane worldliness of court life. It is said he made an application to Prior Richard at a local monastery to be accepted as a contemplative and spend the rest of his life in prayer and meditation. Prior Richard responded, "Your Majesty, do you understand that the pledge here is one of obedience? That it will be hard since you have been a king." Henry said, "I understand. The rest of my life I will be obedient to you as Christ leads you." Prior Richard said, "Then I will tell you what to do. Go back to your throne and serve faithfully in the place where God has put you." After Henry died, this statement was written in his honor. The king learned to rule by being obedient. Today and every day, you have these decisions to make. Number 1, live by your own impulses, or live according to the instructions God has given you in His Word. Number 2, go according to your own best thinking, or submit yourself to the rule and the leading of the Holy Spirit who lives within you. Now, when you think about it, the answer is clear. Obeying God leads to peace, progress, protection, and promotion. His word says, if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. Note the words willing and obedient. Obedience is an act of your will, not a reflex of your emotions. So this year, do what God says, for He has good things in mind for you. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.